Welcome, everyone, to the June 11th, 2025 Disability Advisory Board. I'd like to take roll call if we could just say our names. My name is Lisa Huckler.
My name is Larissa Gambale.
I'm Jody Smith.
I'm Kirsten Zalfa.
And on Zoom, we have
Abby Yates.
Michelle Williams.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. First order of business, I'd just like to approve the May 14th, 2025 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second it. Oh, maybe I can't.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
sorry.
think let's have someone that was here for the meeting.
Second.
Okay, Abby.
And then we have to vote. Right? We have to
Oh,
vote.
and then all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And if you're not here, you abstain, but it's all good.
I abstain.
So,
Yeah.
Actually, so the rules, we'll just go over the rules. We'll do introductions in a minute. We actually have 2 new members, and so we now have 5 full members, I'll call them, and then 1 alternate at this point. So the way that an alternate works, just for clarification, would be if we were down 1 member, then the alternate member would have voting rights. I guess basically it's not needed if there's a full quorum of 5. The alternate, you would be designated a member with voting at the beginning of the meeting.
Understood.
Okay, so as an alternate, and then as an alternate, you wouldn't be able to be an officer at this point, but that's okay. You're very valuable. Okay, but
Thanks.
just for clarification, they did send that out because many of the I guess committees have alternate members and they weren't sure. No one was really sure, do we need their vote? Do we not? When can they vote? When shouldn't they vote? So I think that's the way it is. If there's somebody, we're down 1, you're a member. Not you're the alternate. Okay. Michelle, you have a question?
Well, I do, because my situation of kind of maybe moving out of the area. Would you like me to become the alternate?
No, at this point, the supervisors appointed you
Okay.
as a member. We
Okay.
have an alternate. So when you're ready to move, you could submit your resignation and then
Okay.
Jody would become a member at that point.
Okay.
Okay.
Jody, I was trying to give you some responsibility. So,
That's fine.
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Okay, so with that, I would like to welcome our new members. If you can just maybe introduce yourself and just give us a little background on why you were interested in volunteering for this board.
My name's Larissa Gambale. I've been a resident of Yardley for about 38 years. My children reside here. My grandchildren reside here. So I'm been here a very long time and I'm very vested in the community. I was also an occupational therapist for Burlington Special Services School. I've worked with children from ages 3 to 21 for about 23 years before I retired. So I feel that I still have something to offer. So that's why I'm here.
All right, thank you. Glad to have you. And Jody?
Jody Smith, and my family moved here from New York and have lived in this area for about 28 years. I moved to take a leadership position at Newtown Friends School. And in that capacity, I worked with, again, children from age 4 to age 14, went through many construction projects at the school, tried to figure out families and children's needs. And then I was also diagnosed quite a few years ago with cancer and had successful treatment, but that left me with a peripheral neuropathy, which made me use a cane. And so when I started using a cane, that's when I started becoming even more aware on a personal level of accessibility. I had always been aware of it in terms of some of the other disabilities, particularly affecting families and children, but now with a physical disability. And so I too, like Larissa, think I have some things to offer. especially as a retired person, and this caught my eye.
Great. Well, welcome. And I guess just very quickly, we'll just maybe just the same thing from all of us of why we're on the board, but I've been on the board since 2004. I keep getting it wrong, but it's been say 1994, but 2004. Tragically, my nephew was paralyzed in a sporting accident. So you learn very quickly, as you said, as soon as someone, becomes disabled themselves, you learn how to navigate the world in a very different way. So this is why I, had an interest in helping out the rest of the community on things that I had learned. And I'm learning, even for him, he's still with us, thank God. And so that's a little of my background.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Zolfo. I joined the board in January, so I'm a new person too. I just moved to Lower Makefield from Newtown about a year and a half ago. And when I was in Newtown, I was really involved in township stuff like the planning commission. So once I moved here, I wanted to see what was available. And this was perfect because I've had rheumatoid arthritis for the last 12 years. I use a cane, sometimes a walker, and I'm up for knee replacement surgeries. So I am more than familiar with those same challenges with accessibility issues. So this seemed to be just the sort of thing to fill my itch of municipal volunteering.
Abby?
Hi, I'm Abby. I have my master's degree in social policy with a special interest in disabilities, and both of my children have physical and intellectual disabilities.
Michelle?
Hi, I'm Michelle. I've been a resident in Bucks County, Lower Makefield, a little over 25 years. So that's weird. And I was on the Historic Commission, HARB, for almost 10 years. And then I was formally diagnosed with MS. So I'm a person with a disability and kind of have that flavor combined with Abby's background of strategic planning and policy, specializing in addictions and aging and disabilities. So welcome, you guys. It's definitely valued and needed for the community.
All right, thank you, everyone, for sharing. The next, I just wanted to remind everyone to pick up your volunteer appreciation passes, so including you. Just go over and pick up from the Parks and Rec Department over at the Community Center. Okay. And I thank the township for doing that for us, whether it's golf or the pool for the day. It's perfect. Do we have any public comment? I don't see anyone trying to call in or Zoom in, so I think we can move forward. I just wanted to keep on the agenda that I did reach out to Perry Warren's office concerning the disability fair that maybe we'd like to get down here. So I haven't heard back from them, so I will continue to follow up with that.
Just to clarify, by that you mean something similar to what went on up in Pennsylvania 29 with Tim Brennan's folks?
Yes.
We want to have another one down here in our community. Okay.
With services offered down this way, not up in Doylestown.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was it had so many vendors and such a wealth of information for people, but it was mostly for services up in the Bucks County, the Doylestown area. So I thought it would be nice to bring it down here and see what services are available for everyone down in this school district or in this area. So I think we can definitely partner, with them to do that. All right. Next, I wanted to talk a little more. We're updating our brochure, but what came up was the emergency management information we wanted to put into our brochure. So I started about a couple of weeks ago reaching out to various departments. So I first started with LMT Police, and there's two forms. One is called the Handles. They just started a new form, Handle with Care Registry. So Abby filled it out for her children, and it's something the Lower Makefield Township Police put together so that when you call 911, they'll have pertinent information regarding your household. so that they will have information, ready to respond. The clarification there is when you do that registry, it's not for person, it's for the address. So when that address pops up on 911, you call in, you give your address, that information is there for that address. So it's not per person, it doesn't follow the person, it's only for that address. So you give the address, the information will be there, whether it's a code to the garage door, where a child is sleeping, what kind of needs, if you have an oxygen tank, there's a fire, where are they stored, crucial information that first responders would need. So that I got that explanation, but we wanted to also include something called Smart 911. So I discussed it with the LMT Police Department. They called me back, and they really never even heard of it. Like, it's not something on their radar. Then they looked into it, and it's almost like the township would have to subscribe to it. So I didn't understand that. Like, there's like a subscription, I guess it costs money for townships to have this ability to have Smart 911. So I was very confused that they didn't know, they couldn't provide me with any information. So I'm like, well, now I don't want to put this in our brochure if we don't really understand what's going on. So then I called up to the 911 dispatching, up in Doylestown, wherever, I think that's where they are. And the administrative people were like, yeah, I don't know about that. So I got a little concerned that we're telling people to sign up for the Smart 911 and no one's understanding. So then, I dug a little bit and I sent everyone some information on it that I had found. And I guess it was back in 2018 of what the Smart 911 is supposed to do. So I, read that, and I saw something called the emergency, what was it? The emergency.
That press release from August 29th.
Yeah, but it's, Bucks County Emergency Communications Department. So I think that's different than the 911 yeah. So I called another number, but I've only gotten to leave messages for that. So I want to really just, dig a little bit deeper before we do it. So then I reached out to one of our old board members. He's someone in a wheelchair, and he signed up for Smart 911. So it does work. So what I understand of that is it follows the app on the phone. So if he's anywhere, if he calls 911, his information should be relayed based upon his phone number. But I can't get clarification from anyone, is it, so if he calls using his cell phone, does every 911, no matter where he is in Bucks County, I guess, would every 911 first responder have that no matter what location he is in? But in my mind, LMT isn't subscribing to it. So do they have access? So I need to get further
I
clarification.
never heard of it. And I was
Yeah.
gonna look into that for myself, but then I got weird. I didn't know if I wanted him to know where my keys or whatever and codes and things, so. Sounds like it's a
Has he ever used?
county run or state run, like those fall things, the fall alerts or whatever.
Well, we just need to get a little bit more information. I mean, it says, you create an account, the Smart 911, and information is only viewable by dispatchers and other emergency personnel when a 911 call is placed. Otherwise, it remains safe and secure in the safety profile. So that's talking
Also,
about if it's secure.
Wondering if you can put more than one person per phone number would be interesting, since it would be like my phone number, my husband's phone number, since my kids don't have phones. But could I put two people on mine? Like, could I put
Well,
both
it
my kids
says,
on my phone number?
Smart 911 is the partnership with Rapid SOS. Each year, roughly 180 million mobile calls are placed to 911, and over 10,000 lives are lost when these mobile customers cannot be located. So it really is, it's following your phone, I guess. That's the whole thing.
Also says it's currently available in 40 states. So it would seem odd to me that we wouldn't have it. you know.
No,
if
I
that's
think we have
accurate,
it because
He got
a
it. He
member is
registered.
signed up on
Yeah.
it.
But they
How
don't
is it
know
being
about it.
used? Yeah,
It's one of those things where it runs in the background of their
Yeah.
interface so that they don't necessarily know what all the
That's what they're
plugins
looking
Yeah.
are to their program. So
Right.
I can understand how that works.
yeah.
Maybe, were you able to ask any questions like of the people when you called? So if I called, what would come up for me? You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Well, right now, the LMT police just say they handle with care registry.
Okay,
That would come up
that would come up.
by address.
I see. Okay.
So here's a question. Would it be helpful or would it be too much of a Bigfoot move if we did an intro email to the county commissioners and asked them to direct us to whomever? Yes.
So I think you want to email a guy named John Geib, who's Director of Emergency Communications.
Mhm.
And you can click on a link. He's relatively new because the person before was, I think Scott Forster was the gentleman before. And they're actually, Iveland is where they have, it's not too far from Rosa. But that's the gentleman that I think you want to email and specifically ask if there's something behind the scenes to make sure that if we tell people to register, that data goes through and that experience is in there.
Yeah, I think I called that number. I did call
Yeah.
the emergency, so I'm just going to wait, maybe talk with someone and then
If you
email.
don't hear anything in a
Yeah.
couple days, and it's jgeib@buckscounty.org.
Okay.
And then if he doesn't respond in a couple days, then we can Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, or you
Yeah.
can just CC me,
Yeah.
Jay.
No, I'm sure, and the thing is like LMT police, the administrative person that I spoke with, she's like, well, if you find something out, let us know.
Yeah.
Like, do we have to subscribe it or do we not?
Yep,
That
yeah.
type of a thing. So I think it'll be good to,
Seems like all of this is coordinated through the county.
I
not
think,
the
yeah.
Municipalities.
Mhm.
Right, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then, our previous member, he did say he gets updates like every 6 months. They do ping him, has anything changed? So
Mhm.
it is interactive. So I think we do want to include that. But as soon as we get a little better understanding.
I also, since we're here and we're public, they are always looking for dispatchers. That is a very difficult job to fill. And it's not that it's super high, it's reasonably well paying. And
Mhm.
it's a very challenging position. So if you know anybody, they're always looking for folks and it's difficult to fill. But yeah, which is why I knew about the guy before years ago. Did some work, but yeah.
All right. Larissa, you were going to say something, did you?
So you said that you contacted this person in the wheelchair. Has he ever used the Smart 911?
I don't believe he's had to use it
So,
yet,
okay. so
right? And of
there's
how it
no-
works now. Mhm.
And does he live in this?
Yeah, he lives
lives
in
here.
Yardley. So he's gonna complete the handle with care registry because that's Lower Makefield.
Okay.
Yeah, and his address is in Lower Makefield Township, so he will be doing that too, though. So, all right. And then we definitely want to add the blue envelope program to, you add that already
Mm-mm.
to the brochure? Okay.
Nope. It's once we have all of the text that we're gonna
Okay.
add in, it would be easier for me to do it then, just because I can
Mm-hmm.
maneuver things around a little bit.
Okay, so we'll wait to figure out all the Smart 911 Handle with Care Registry, Blue Envelope Program. Maybe we can put that all, and this is just updating, the brochure, put it all in one area. So
Right.
maybe we have to put that in
So since
I would put all emergency
I was gonna
ones.
say, since you're holding that, what my thought was gonna be roughly was the red text is gonna come out because that's the old text about police contact. I'll probably take out that cute little graphic at the top and put in one of our photos instead in that space. And then that whole bar that's open, we can make for the emergency
Okay.
contact. And then on the inside, where we have the big gray blob, that's where we can put the QR code
Okay.
to get people to wherever we want to code them to, which I'm assuming was our website.
Yeah, I think, if we're doing a QR code, we want to direct them to our website, which should have all the information on it. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, so that was kind of where my
Okay.
head was at, but obviously we can change as we see
Okay.
fit. I just need to see how much
Okay.
language we're trying to put in before I play.
Okay, so
Can I ask a question? Where are these brochures available?
If we attend any events, we bring them to any events, like they used to have Community Day. We put them in the township building here for people to just pick up if they're coming here and over at the community center. But they're kind of outdated, so that I just print them up and then place them. Yeah.
But
But
you
it,
can also put them out on socials once we
Yeah.
have a new version.
and yeah, once this is done, it'll be on the webpage on the Lower Makefield Township website, so anyone can see it. And then we can also work with Kelly Frayne, that's here, and she posts things out on Facebook and, social media. So we can put it out that way too.
Each one of those segments would make for an excellent post to put on repeat every month or two, just to remind people of what we got going on.
The police department has
Touch on that.
also posted about the Blue Envelope program and Handle with Care Registry on their social media, I've noticed.
Abby, can you repeat that? I didn't understand.
I said that the LMT Police Department has also posted about the Blue Envelope program and Handle with Care Registry on their social media.
Right, and that's on their webpage, and they have their own website and all. You're right. So, yeah. Now, Larissa, you were asking about whether the community center
Yeah. Is the
and
community center addressed on your brochure?
no, because we've been involved with trying to get handicap doors in there, but that was probably the only thing we did. And that's under what we've done, installed accessible doors in the township building and the library. Yeah, but there's really nothing, do you have something else to add about the community
I was
center?
just thinking, since seniors go there and a lot of them have issues, and so I was just wondering if that was something that.
Yeah, I think it's more of just that it's now accessible via these
Okay.
push button the accessible doors. So, yep, so that is in there, I think.
Okay.
So I think we'll give you all the information on the emergency management once we have it.
Mhm.
And then while we're, behind the scenes, while we're not meeting, we can all look at it and see if there's anything else. So at the next meeting, I'd like to have this complete, but if there's anything else that you think should be added to it, that would be the time that, we can get that updated and get it ready for the fall.
The next physical meeting is August, correct?
Yeah,
We're
we'll
just talking
probably, we'll
July?
talk that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, that I can commit to.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then the only other thing I noticed on the website was there's a lot of different places you can get to the old special needs form. So we need to kind of, as I was navigating, I'm like, oh, they got to remove it from the township police part. They got to remove it from the forms part. They got to remove it from our disability advisory, the committee page. So there's a lot of places that needs to come down. But I didn't want to just send something to say, take it down, because maybe we need to replace it with a link to Handles with Care Registry. So we'll make sure that we get that taken care of. So like we add new things and we forget to take down the old things. So we'll go ahead and make sure we do that. All right. All right, next we have the upcoming events. And so I just always want to mention anything that's coming up. If everyone can set aside Sunday, September 28th, if you want to volunteer for the 5K Anyway Run. And it's usually 8 o'clock, that we'd have to be there on a Sunday. I may have a conflict, so I might be able to get there a little later, but not right at 8. So it's just a fun event, and
Can you remind me the name of that again?
it's the 5K Anyway Run. And the proceeds that are, that they get for the run, anything that they make goes towards some of our ADA transition plan items that are in with the Parks and Rec Department. So they apply those funds to things that we had in the plan.
Will there be a table there with information so that people who couldn't run or do things will be answering questions or sitting down, or?
Yeah, it's not really.
It's not like that?
It's not like that. Yeah,
Okay.
everybody that's kind of attending, they're not all runners. There are, children that come in wheelchairs or walkers, and
So you could do
you can
yeah,
do the walk.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And So it's not, it's just a fun
Okay.
time of getting together. Yeah. I mean, we can surely have our brochures there and people can pick them up if they're interested, but I don't think people, runners are going to pick them up. Maybe at the end, they might, pick something up if they're interested. All right, next we have just wanted to mention the PECO Green Region Open Space Program. Lower Makefield Township received additional grant money. So the original money came from PECO to do the 5 Mile Woods. I don't know if you've been there. If you go to 5 Mile Woods, they now have a boardwalk. So that's accessible. It's pretty long. I can't remember now how many, but it's fairly long. It opened at the beginning of this year in spring. We had a grand, opening of the boardwalk, and we had a great turnout. So they received additional funds, and I did reach out to Monica, and she said that the Public Works, I'm not sure how they're going to do that, but if it's going to be the whole volunteer thing again, but that they were in discussion, and it should be done hopefully by this fall. So they're going to extend the boardwalk even further. Going to use those funds. But she did mention that she was coordinating with Public Works. So that's why I wasn't sure if it was last time it was all volunteers. It was 5 Mile Wood volunteers, scouts, and everyone kind of pitched in and got the initial boardwalk started. So, but if you haven't been there, definitely go. It's easy to walk and enjoy.
Well, it's interesting, when I learned about this volunteer opportunity, I was looking at the section about what's available in the parks, where there are paved ones for myself before I even saw it. And 5 Mile Woods is very close to where I live. And I thought, oh, it's too bad there doesn't seem to be anything there.
Yeah.
So next time when they put that in the broader township newsletter,
So
they
yeah,
should add that.
you're right. So that's a good point. So we have,
Yeah, that, right.
like the newsletter had inclusive sports programming in Lower Makefield Township in their, what was it? The spring newsletter. And then Abby made a good point at the
It
last
actually
meeting.
Does in the newsletter say handicap accessible for 5 Mile Woods now?
So
I interpreted that just as there was maybe a space where I could park my car, but
Okay.
I appreciate you commenting.
yeah.
But I would have been very excited had I seen the word boardwalk.
So where is that, Abby? That's in the,
I have the spring one that I keep just to reference. So it was in the spring 2025 on page 24 under township.
oh
owned
yeah, okay.
Facilities.
So I have that too. So it says it's handicap accessible. But maybe they need to say there's handicap accessible, like the path is accessible, because you took it as a parking spot might be available.
And other places, they said
Yeah.
paved, so that you could, they'd say other locations, nature trail, which I interpret as something that might be too challenging for me. But then they'd also say 1 mile of paved surface, which I would interpret as possible, to investigate.
So I think it would be better said handicap accessible boardwalk
Yeah,
or pathway,
yeah.
and however long.
Especially if they're going to make it even longer. That's
Yeah.
very cool.
Okay. Because what does that mean? Handicap accessible at the 5 Mile Woods? You wouldn't know what that meant. Okay, no, that's great. Great feedback, and I'm sure Monica would love to put that in there. Monica's the Parks and Rec director, so I reference her often just by Monica, so you know who I'm talking about. All right. Okay, so we're excited. We'll just, look forward to that in the fall, and just mention it. The more we get it out there, more people know about it, and more people will use it that wouldn't have been able to use it before. The next grant that Abby forwarded to me was, I guess, Abby, you're on the internet just looking for these grants, but you came up with an interesting one. It's called a Microgrant, Growing Microgrant. And this is, how we have at Memorial Park, there are community gardens. So people can put in, I guess, and just, be a farmer in their little spot there. So this is just $1,000 grant that you can apply for, and just to make your garden or growing space more accessible. And, you know, I don't know whether you could create a better pathway, or you could do a raised bed
Yeah,
for planting.
That's kind of what I was thinking of, just because that makes it accessible for people that can't even bend over, or have bad knees.
I
or
would love that.
like, yeah,
Maybe I'll
so.
stay in Little
and-
Makefield.
And it kind of does make it wheelchair accessible in that way.
Yeah.
You can pull a wheelchair up or things like that. It's from Temple's Institute for Disabilities, which I'm like on their email chain. They have like a lot of resources, and that's also where our area's adaptive technology center is, at Temple. So they have a lot of things going on, and I just got their email and thought, perfect.
Yeah. Now, the interesting thing is, you know, in my mind, we don't just want to do this and it not be used. Like, how could we get somebody who was interested, maybe involved with it prior to doing it? Go ahead, Michelle.
I mean, I'm just thinking out of the box because I live very close to that garden. I would reach out to somebody who's on this. Is there a seniors committee or center? It looks like those are mostly seniors that use the garden up there. But I absolutely love the raised bed idea, because a couple of the over 55s I'm looking at have, you know, a whole garden center, which is what I have, like the raised potting bed.
We have raised bed gardens too.
Yeah, so I mean, I've planted over 1,000 bulbs in 22 years here, but we're not getting down on the ground and dealing with planting bulbs anymore. So I would love it. It would be fun. Yeah.
All right. So
Maybe
I
the
think maybe we
seniors-
just do reach out maybe to the seniors and say, is anyone interested? Would anyone be interested if we applied for this grant? You know, so I'd like to apply for it knowing that we already have people that are interested in using that plot.
Well,
So I don't-
another thought, and I'm sorry to interrupt,
Okay.
thinking out of the box is, do we have a youth committee for that fabulous garden up there, and then create some kind of garden space for kids? Why should it just be seniors? No offense. I love everybody, but
Well, I think it's for everyone. I think you just have to apply. So like you said, I think it's more who has time to go
Yeah.
over there and garden, probably people that are retired or.
yeah, this might bring more kids, because actually, from what I'm learning from neighbors and people looking at the house, and you all know, Lower Makefield has a very predominant homeschool community. So maybe there's something that we could utilize from that avenue, or I don't know. It's a thought, but you know, maybe whoever manages that space, it's probably the seniors community over there.
When my children went to high school, they had to do programs in the community. Is this something that we could reach out to a high school to have the students maybe participate and help out?
Well, usually
Yeah.
this would be something great for the scouts.
Yeah,
They're always looking for projects. So it would be so that a grant could potentially help them to do something larger.
Okay.
Right.
But again, we definitely would love to do this. We'll look into what type of application it is. We may already have to have somebody that's interested to do it. That's why I want to create a little bit of buzz and see if there's anyone that might reach out. And then this would be a perfect, like I said, scouts are always looking for something, and this would be a perfect project for them.
I think that, because I just wanted to follow some of these links to see, and some of them are not operational right now because this year has closed out and they haven't put the new ones.
That's right.
But if you go to the originator of the website and just look grants, it'll come up with a lot of information. And this one, for the small grant, had incredible information just about what you would think about for disabilities and open spaces and all sorts of things. It's 96 pages. I did not read
Yeah.
it, but I noted it. So just in case anybody wanted
Use
to
as a
follow,
resource.
to
Yeah.
use it a resource, but also don't, it might not, the link right now might not work, but
Okay.
it will work
Yeah.
soon.
Okay. Well, I definitely, I mean, it's just, like I said, Abby's been out there looking for things and, this is the kind of stuff that you do find that you aren't aware of. And I didn't even think about it. Like, did any of us think, oh, a raised bed in the gardens would be a great idea? But yeah, so it kind of opens your mind up to, additional projects that we could do in the township for, for other residents with disabilities. Okay, the next grant was, and I do want to bring it up again because again, Abby had found this. It was the American Academy of
I might have an
Dermatology.
answer to your question because if you go on their website and look at the frequently asked questions, it does say city parks are eligible.
So Abby's referencing that I was questioning, it says parks, but not for profits. It said public schools. The grant is for $8,000 for public schools and not for profits and for their parks. So I was confused on, yes, it says parks, but does it have to be a park that a school is using, or can it be a township park that's collecting taxes? So I asked Monica to look into that for us. So she was going to look into it. And then I read further and it says because it's through the American Academy of Dermatology, you have to have had 1 year prior to applying, like a whole,
Yes.
like showing that you're trying to prevent skin cancer, whether it's in kids or what your, what am I saying? Like,
What your project goals are.
yeah, but we have to have been doing it for a year.
Here, right.
Yeah,
we
so
asked
we
if they
have to
could-
get goals.
I
Then we
think
have
that's
to
kind of
implement
what we
them.
were talking about last time with like thinking about the summer and the pool and like promoting sunscreen and things like that.
Right. So I think what we would want to do is to come up with a plan for 1 year on how we're going to promote skin safety. And there's a lot of different places we can go. We can go to dermatology offices. Maybe we can get skincare products, suntan lotion, literature, hand that out at all the summer camps, at the pool. What else is out there for
For the 5K.
the 5K? Have this, but we have to show that we're actively participating in this,
Right.
safety awareness, mostly awareness, sun exposure awareness. And, but I think we have to partner with the dermatologist, for this year. So I'm going to ask for, think about it. If there's something maybe somebody would like to take on and come up with almost like bring it to us, a proposal, and we'll go over it with Monica, the Parks and Rec, and try that for 1 year. And then we'd have to apply for this at the end of the year.
I'd be willing to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you need a dermatologist, Abby? Because Dr. Stern said.
I have a dermatologist
Okay.
in township, so I
Okay.
can talk to
I was
them.
going to say, they're very busy, but she's a real big advocate for kids and sun exposure and things. So.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely.
Okay, I would think I would just go on their website and exactly what does it mean for the 1 year? Is giving out suntan lotion to kids or
I don't
doing
think so. I think it's going to be like a public kind of campaign, public health campaign talking about things.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm like more than willing to like delve into that
Okay.
for
Okay.
and come up with some ideas and talk to people.
I would be happy to craft some communication posts for social media related to skin safety so that we could give it to the LMT communications folks and they could do it every 2 to 4 weeks to show that we're.
Right, so we could just, part of the promotion would be, here's some safety tips, and we throw it out there on the Parks and Rec website, our website, on Facebook pages, and so on.
Yep.
So it's actively promoting, yeah.
As long as we can
And-
show that we're doing it on a regular basis so
Mhm.
that there's a continued effort.
Right.
I think that's the biggest. I'm sure they will appreciate if we're giving out suntan lotion samples that we get, but it's the showing that we have a continued push. I think that makes the difference.
Right.
And they have materials on their website that they encourage communities and organizations to use. So I'll look into those further. And also the American Society for Dermatology Surgery has an SPF for all kind of plan, and they actually have a program where they can install public sunscreen dispensers. So that might be something for the parks that I'll look deeper into for sure.
Okay.
Abby, I don't want to step on toes, so you let me know if and when you want me to do the comms piece of it.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good.
Kirsten could definitely, yeah, supply us with some fun posters and educational, brochures and flyers. Okay. Okay, and then for Parks and Rec, I didn't have any updates. Monica didn't have any updates for me on anything that's going on in the township. The only thing, I did question Jim Majewski today on the Macclesfield project. They were looking into, I mean, it's a whole big, changing Macclesfield. But I don't know what the time frame is on that. And, it's been a couple of years since that project even started. And I feel like, if it's not going to happen in the next year or two, they need to make some enhancements to the handicap parking down there, things that we, brought to their attention when they, in the ADA transition plan and when they were doing the Macclesfield project. But if it's not going to be done in 5 to 10 years, we're not putting those kinds of things on hold. It's being used. So we want to get certain things accomplished. And restriping is one of them, in certain areas. And Jim Majewski said that certainly was something that they could move forward with sooner than later. So I'm going to take a look at that. I'll take a look at that again for Mackles. But we had also come up with, when we updated the ADA transition plan, Monica had asked us to do that last fall, and we were supposed to meet with them. And when we were updating the ADA transition plan, we said I had 2 pages worth of things that this is not a plan. These are immediate needs. Like we saw, as we were going around looking at stuff for this plan, we're like, no, these things have to be taken care of immediately. So we're now going on 7, 8 months since, we discussed this. So I think it's time. I just haven't gone back and looked at it, but I'm going to go look at it again. And if there's anything that, is standing out to me that really should be done, like I said, sooner than later, I think we need to put that in an email and say, these need to be done, as soon as possible, and maybe prioritize it. And I don't think anything we had on there was like, major changes, like you need funding. It was more maintenance. That's the thing. You have these parks, and whether it's bike paths or whatever, we need to maintain these. So we can't keep pushing it off for we have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. No, there's some immediate needs now. I always bring up bike paths, but even Jim Majewski said he had to go out and look at something today because it was like a 8-inch gap in the bike path. It's dangerous because I actually go on that. And if you had a stroller, nonetheless, a walker, it's getting caught. The wheels are getting caught. If you don't have the big, round wheels, the little ones are definitely getting caught, and a baby or a person could be easily tipped over. So they do address things that are emergency, obviously, but I think on that 2-page summary we had, there were some things that had to be taken care of, should be taken care of now. So I'll revisit that. Building plan review. So there
Sorry,
was
before
no.
you move,
No, go
before you
ahead.
move on from that, I have 2 things from that like little section on the agenda. I've been in contact with Kristen Huber and Monica about another meeting about the adaptive swim lessons. We were trying to schedule it for last week before I came to Boston for the month, but we couldn't work it out. So I think we're going to try and regroup after I get back. And also I know that we've been talking a lot about like the parks and things that are going to need to be renovated in the future. The town that my kids are having their intensive therapy program at just opened a literal gigantic universal playground that has a universal playground, splash pad, and mini golf course. and it's so popular, you have to like reserve a parking spot and you can only stay for 2 hours. And they have people literally like, you have to have like a ticket. So I'm gonna try and try really hard to get a spot and take lots of pictures and get lots of information about it.
Yeah, just get some ideas on, what you see works. So what Abby is talking about is the Parks and Rec, like we're looking into redoing Kids Kingdom. And, obviously when we redo that, we want to make it as accessible as it can be. And they're going to redo the bathrooms and really make it, world class, but it's a huge project. And again, that's going to take a few years. We're talking 2.5 million. It could be $2.5 million to put in a new, without the splash pad and the golf course. Just the playground itself and the bathrooms and the pavilions probably will be, 2.5 million. So that's an ongoing project, but any ideas we come up with, and pictures are great. If you send Monica a picture, and she's looking through stuff, it's just gives everybody great ideas.
And it'll be good to see like my kids on the equipment and kind of get an idea of how it's supposed to work and things like that. See other kids on the equipment. I mean, all the kids that are at this program have disabilities, so it'll be really cool if we could get some of the kids to go and, hang out for lunch one day. So
You should do like a big group outing. Take
the
over the
problem
park.
is getting these parking reservations.
Yeah.
It's so hard right now. I mean, it literally just opened last week, so it's very popular. The splash pad's open now and the weather is warm, so.
And then just to go back to the adaptive swim lessons, so that won't occur this summer, you think?
No,
No,
I don't think
okay.
there's.
So
that's gonna
it's something
happen.
that you'll work with to get started for next year.
I guess I haven't heard anything more from the woman that originally started the process, but I'm willing to carry it on. I mean, and meet and see kind of where they are with things. I know they were super busy opening the pool right before we left, and that kind of just
Yeah.
our schedules just like didn't work out. So hopeful to kind of get back in and see
Now,
how we've progressed.
right. So now that would be something, maybe Larissa and Jody, you have experience with children and children programs. Maybe this is something that we can get involved with early to get it going for next June, after Memorial Day, the pool opens, and it's funded by an outside company that comes in and provides these services. So it's free to the children.
Nice.
And,
So no,
oh, no,
not
that's not
really.
right.
It
Oh,
is,
that-
but the grant was through the woman that originally started. I don't know who she is. She was at the original meeting that I was at. But she was the one with the connection to the grant or the money organization or whatever. So I'm worried that if she's no longer part of it, that it's gonna fall apart. But I'm not exactly sure. But the idea is that they'll provide the money to let these lessons be free of charge, right? And as of the last meeting we had, we talked about that, and then like the training for the staff was one of the big things
Right.
that they wanted to talk about.
So it would utilize current staff who would just be trained.
They're not sure.
Okay.
That's part of what they were talking about because of the high turnover rate. They weren't sure that training staff would be cost effective.
So whatever group was providing the funds, they could provide the
Training.
training, but also, no, they
Oh.
could provide people to come in and do it.
Oh,
So
okay.
not train our.
I don't think that
Don't think
that
they do that?
I don't think that group, I think it's literally just money. I don't think that
Oh,
group
it's
has
just one
anything to
person.
do with swim lessons. I think it's an autism organization that's providing the money.
Okay. So it's sounding less and less promising, Abby. is
Yeah,
what
I
you're
don't know,
saying.
because just
Okay.
because we haven't talked since that original
Okay.
meeting, I did email back
Okay.
and forth a couple times with some training companies and like ideas of whether training staff would be
All right. I'm
good.
sure
So,
Monica has more information.
yes,
So
I'm
what we'll do
sure.
is we'll make sure we bring this up earlier in the year because we just found out about it last month. And obviously it's too short of a time frame to do anything for this year to get training and everything. So let's keep that on our radar for early next year, February, start discussing it with Monica. And if it's something that we can reach out to this person, if
Yeah.
she's still involved with it, and then find out what it would entail to bring that here to our township. Okay.
Well, to your point though, Lisa, when it does get to the next level, yeah, I would definitely, I'm already thinking about kids that I know that are too old now, but have been trained and how much in demand they are as lifeguards and wondering, they get certificates and that would just add, a specialized training would just add to their worth
Yeah.
to work at other places too. I would certainly be willing
Okay.
to be a part of that
Okay,
effort.
great. All right. So as you can see, nothing happens very quickly. So you
Yeah.
have to have a lot of patience, as John knows, a lot of patience in government, but when grants and things like that, it does take a lot of time. And it's volunteer, like this woman probably just came up with the idea. So everybody's probably has a full-time job and trying to volunteer. So it don't get frustrated is what I'm just telling you. So it's just things happen at their own time frame, but we keep plugging along. All right, next we have the building plan review, which there's really no new updates. There's Prickett Preserve. And I just wanted to bring up, so last meeting I had gone over to Prickett and they were working on a new section. And I noticed some handicap parking signs were put in and the placement of the handicap parking in conjunction with I guess it's the Paris Baguette. That's where the Paris Baguette is going to be. And I got an email from Jim and he sent me the plans. So you can clearly see where the stores will be. And then there's a row of parking spots and then a median. And then the handicap parking spots are beyond the median. Okay, so it makes no sense, which I'll share this with you so you can it's very clear.
So, you really want to walk around a large berm to be able to
Yeah.
get to the stores when you have mobility issues.
Now, I do understand maybe you want to cross out, there's no parking spots right where you don't have to cross traffic, okay? So I can kind of understand why they want to put the walkway at the intersection. So it's where cars are stopped at a stop sign. It might be a little safer, but I said, that's fine, but then put the handicap parking on the other side of the berm. So and then you can still access that intersection type area. So it's a little bit shorter.
Suggestion?
Mhm.
I'm thinking about the Kohl's parking lot in front of the Starbucks and Carlucci's area, how they have that same street with the berm and then parking.
Yeah.
Every 3 or 4 spots, they have a cut through with
Right.
the curb
Right.
cut for folks to be able to cross the berm. Perhaps we can
They don't need to do that.
Oh, okay.
There's parking spots on the other side of the berm. Like
Oh.
Kohl's, there's not, at
Yeah,
front of
yeah.
Starbucks, there's not, you have to go over the berm to get to
Yeah,
the street.
now I get what
Here,
you're saying.
yeah,
Okay.
no, you don't need to. There's parking spots on the other side.
Just restrike them.
Yeah,
Got it.
so it needs to be moved. But I think my point I want to bring up to anyone listening out there who is, putting in handicap parking, any building, is the ADA guidelines, and I'm just going to read it. In parking lots or garages, accessible parking spaces must be located on the shortest accessible route to the accessible entrance. An accessible route is the path a person with a disability takes to enter and move through a building or facility. Period. It's the shortest accessible route to the accessible entrance. This clearly is not. And someone had mentioned to me, well, it's really no further of a distance than, let's say, the township buildings, because the township building, you have to park down and you have to come up the ramp. It might be the same distance, but I'm saying that's apples and oranges. You can't compare 2 different buildings. It's the building you're at, where the parking is, and it should be the shortest accessible route, period.
I think it also makes a difference between existing structure and new structure where you could put
Yes,
it
yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
And I read a little bit of the ADA, particularly the parking spaces, because I'm interested and I have my sign. And I read that and I thought, oh, okay, if it's a strip mall, then they have to put it someplace. They can't get it, what might be one end of the strip, it's close to that. But that's the best they can do. But they're still, and that's what Wegmans has in the same thing. You've got handicap spots right where a crosswalk is. And I don't know if it's the same builders, but there's just really
Oh, yeah.
no excuse for not following
Yeah.
those rules.
Any chance I can get you to email me that text that you had in the
Yes.
email? Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yes. Yep.
I'll explain why when we're on
Okay.
new business.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I spoke with Jim and he said that they were looking into it and still working on it. So that's, he's aware of it. So I don't know what the follow through will be, but since I ride by it every day, I'll know what's going on. I can keep an eye on it. All right. All right, so new business. So I'm sure people have some new business here to discuss.
Yeah.
Just already.
This is as much a question as anything else about whether it's appropriate to make this contact. But so I moved into my condo in September of last year, but we bought it in June. And so we gave the homeowners association 3 months notice before we moved in that we would need an accommodation for a handicap spot. It did not get done until 8 months later. Part of the process of it getting done was they put it in a not the nearest to the accessible intro. They just decided to put it at a corner because all of them are at corners and they want it to look nice and equal. So having let this stew a little bit, because it got resolved in February, I was trying to decide whether or not I wanted to write to them in a somewhat more official manner, not asking them to change anything, but to ask them to review their standard operating procedures. Because it seemed to me that giving them 3 months before I moved in was more than enough time to provide an accommodation.
So did they end up moving that spot?
No, the spot's still way further away than it needs to be, but I don't, it's 27 extra steps. I
Okay.
can live with 27
Okay.
steps most days of my life.
So they put the spot in, but because it took so long and yeah.
So I was going to consider writing a letter to them, asking them to review their standard operating procedures to prioritize dealing with these accommodations, but also advise them that this is the standard about doing it closest, not just somewhere that they like to do it because it looks prettier in a corner, whatever that means.
So
I was unclear if I was allowed to say that I am on the Disability Advisory Board in writing that letter to them.
So the ADA law, it would not apply
To homes.
to homes. So it doesn't matter what I had, what we say. So if you move into a community, it's an HOA and you need an accommodation, by law, they don't have to do it. They're going to do it, right? Maybe eventually, or they're going to make some kind of accommodation, but it might not follow the rule exactly,
Okay.
to what they might have to do in a business. So businesses are totally different.
Gotcha.
Government buildings are definitely different. They have to, to follow it. But whenever you go into, because we've had this come up in Rose Hollow, we had it come up in Makefield Glen and Tanglewood. People reached out to us because they had difficulty getting into the pool over in Tanglewood. And it's always the same. Yes, they should do it. Yes, it's going to take longer, but it's not really something that by law, you're going to be able to force their issue. And I always tell people, I always start out with, and the lady that contacted me at Makefield Glen, is to do what you did. You need to put it in writing to your HOA. You need to work with the people you're going to be living with first.
Yeah.
You attend the HOA meetings, you go to the property manager, you go to the president, you don't get that, you go to the secretary, you go to the vice president, you attend the meetings, you go to the residents. You work together as a community to get that done.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do, right? But with that being said, say you do all that
Mhm.
and you really can't even get into, maybe you need a curb cut or whatever, then, you can hire an attorney and try to, once you hire an attorney with an HOA, then, they're going to probably work with you, but it might be at your expense.
Yeah.
So that was her
And
thing.
by the way, we were willing to do it at our
Yeah.
expense. I was looking at this more from the perspective of if I'm asking them to assess their standard operating procedures to prioritize the needs of their disabled residents, because I know I'm not the only one, even in my building,
Yeah.
let alone the community. If it's appropriate when I'm signing it to indicate that I'm a member of the Lower Makefield Township Disability Advisory Board.
John, I wouldn't think, because it's a personal issue. We're not bringing up, as our committee is not asking the HOA to follow these rules. So I
Okay.
think that's where, you can surely say, I'm very familiar because I'm on the board. Like you can reference.
Indicated in the text, but don't sign it as a member of.
That's right.
Got it. That's exactly
you
the
know.
guidance I was looking
Okay,
for.
so
Thank you.
can surely, I use that all the time. My HOA, we're redoing our clubhouse, and even in the clubhouse, they don't have to put really a ramp. And I'm like, we're not even redoing, but like enhancing it. I'm like, this is the time that you're putting in the ramp. I'm on that board. So there, I have a vote. But I do say I'm on the Disability Advisory Board in Lower Makefield Township. I know the laws. I've heard these kind of stories, and I think it's the right thing to do. And again, I have to have patience. It's going to happen, but it finally will have a ramp to get into our clubhouse. It doesn't currently. So yeah, I think that might satisfy.
Thank
what
you so
were
much.
asking.
I appreciate that advice.
But I really, everyone out there, because we do get this often, is your HOA will be willing to work with you. If it's an issue like that. It might take longer than you want. And you can give guidance on how it impacted you, and, if they need help in the future with somebody who has a need, you would be willing to help out to make it more quickly,
Yep.
so offer your services. And, but you can always do legal if something is not made right.
Thank you so much.
All right, so. All right, anyone else have anything new business, anything you would like our new members, anything you'd like to see our board do, or as you're, not tonight, but as you're looking around the township or talking with people, if anything comes up that you think our board would be able to, that we're not thinking of, that maybe something you'd like to get involved with, or, just bring it up and we can add that to our agenda. I also just wanted to bring up that the marketing plan revisions, we discussed this with Monica, and it's now, I just want to make sure we stay in the loop with Kelly Frayne for better outreach and education. And I sent her an email because I said, what is your position? Because I thought she was going to be working on this marketing plan. And she actually stated that there's been no discussion regarding an official marketing plan, that what her responsibility is, she makes social media postings for the township. And what she could do for us is, if there's specific items that our committee would like to post on the official pages, she can do that for us. And the official pages that she does is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So we can keep that in mind if we're creating things, not only the brochure, but, opportunities to get information about the dermatology, any of our grants, anything that we may need, but she would be happy to do that. Okay. Meeting schedule going forward. So for July, we will not be meeting. So our next meeting would be August. And if there's any major conflicts or we don't have any agenda items, we can always cancel it, but we need to get that, just for your information, they have to publicize when meetings are occurring. So I'd rather publicize it and cancel it, or rather than not publicize it and ask them to republish at the expense of, putting an ad in the paper, it costs money.
And then
So-
Wednesday, August 13th at 6 PM?
13th? Yeah,
Wednesday?
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Okay, just making sure.
yeah. And really that, the main discussion at that, I would think, is we definitely want to get the brochure completed at that meeting.
Mhm.
So, but I think we can work on that
I was gonna say, with any luck.
over
we'll
the
have
next 2 months, you know,
Final draft that we can.
bring the
approve
draft
and-
and then, yeah, we can have the final draft, exactly, so. Okay, John, is there anything else that you want to contribute from any of the supervisory board meetings?
I
Any,
don't think so, other than our last meeting, we got 2 new members.
that's right.
Back going for us, which is strong. And the board did approve residential development, again, the right farm.
Right
stuff.
farm. Mhm.
And that was a by right plan, so it was zoned R1, all that sort of stuff. And that has full sidewalks, 88 curb cuts and all that stuff in there as well.
Okay,
So.
all right, then I think we are ready to adjourn. Do I have to make a motion to adjourn?
Sure do.
All right,
Make the motion.
all right, Kristen.
A second.
All right, Michelle, second.
Sorry, Robert's rules nerd.
All right, all in favor, aye. Have a great summer. Start of the
Welcome,
sum-
you guys.
Yep,
Welcome.
welcome new members.
Hi.
All right. I don't know that I've turned this off.
It's under more, it's the same place. It'll say stop
Oh,
recording.
no, it says stop